Okay. Hi. Okay, so let's just start this conversation. I just come from another talk, so I kind of have to switch the mindset, although it was very related. So the topic of our discussion is how to, in the light of the state of the world, how can we not, just get depressed and give up and just binge watch Netflix and HBO and Disney Plus and all the streaming services and anything that you can just like binge and just like crawl in a corner and eat chips and be depressed and never get out again. So how can we avoid this? That's a little bit of topic because there's a lot of things wrong with the world right now. And it can be very overwhelming. And I definitely, maybe before diving deeper. So hi, I'm Kris. So I work in for a decentralized donation platform, Gitcoin. So I'm actually really very much in a context where I see that that change is actually being made and created and impact is being had. But I see that, like, even for me, it is very often a struggle to see, to get out of bed and to like continue going, because just like anywhere else, and in a way potentially even more in the world of DAOs where there's not a lot of structure, it is sometimes difficult to keep your motivation and your structure and to see that you're actually making progress, that what you're doing has the impact that you set out to do. And yeah, I do believe that we need to keep this hope up and that we need to keep on building. And I have a few thoughts on what is influencing us a little bit too much, and some trips and some tricks and tips that worked for me. But yeah, first I want to ask all of you, what works for you? How do you get out of bed? How do you keep going? Or are you like, the world is just fine, what are you talking about? So any thoughts?
I mean, I certainly understand that that feeling of what's the point, and diving into everything from TV to alcohol to drug abuse. I guess for myself, when I'm in my up and most positive and most productive moments, I'm really tapping into the stuff that's harder to hear. The people you meet doing amazing things, that's often much quieter news than the stuff we're bombarded with, and recognizing that it's not just the people that we're connecting with, but that's a reflection of people all around the world doing the same stuff in the cracks, all working for the right kind of positive causes. And that can be then small moments, small meetings, small conversations can be incredibly powerful, because you sense how that's being replicated all around the world through like-minded individuals.
So it's like, I guess a point in there is definitely that it's about connecting with those people, finding ways to have regions unite and to actually, see, like, I'm not alone, and it's stuff sometimes really difficult, right? So, alone already for that, I'm extremely grateful for these past 2 days of like having all these people coming together and being like, hey, you're also doing some stuff. It's a good one.
Yeah. For me, a big thing that helped was to just stop looking at the news. I realized that information is very much like the food you eat. If you have just a bad diet of information, you can also get mentally unwell from that. So I mean, at the kind of height of the pandemic, I found myself just doom scrolling every day, because it felt like we were just in one long Black Mirror episode or each week was a new episode of just like something, the next development. And the moment I realized I got into this habit every day, like the first thing I did when I woke up was just look at the news or like look at my phone. And so the moment I kind of formed that habit of I kept my phone out of the bedroom, and I just focused on trying to be more present, which is very much, it's a work in progress for me. But I think just making these small changes to my habits, and also exercising, really helps. Like actually moving around, and that was definitely the sort of exponential effect of having a better sleep cycle, feeling better the next day, actually feeling motivated to get up. And I think to echo your point of also connecting with like-minded people, to know that while in some ways we are very isolated, I think by virtue of being in these lockdowns and also being very digital, actually having that physical connection with people is really, really valuable. Yeah, so that to me is super motivating to have those connections and to also see the sort of very radical optimism that other people have, you know, in a very uncertain sort of future that we're experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah, I also resonate with what you said, because it's basically like, before being motivated to change the world, we need to be motivated in general for life. So I think these practices of not getting depressed in general are very good and really necessary and urgent. At the same time, for me, like maybe at the moment in my life, I'm even directing a bit more for more socially impactful projects rather than environmental only. And I know both are interconnected, but I think because of this, because environment is really hard to see your impact with your eyes. Whereas when you're working with people, it's really like, this person is not going to bed hungry today. And that's really different. So I think sometimes we really need to feel, to find what sparks in our body and our heads, to find motivation, also then to work with other things that are not so visible. But at the same time, I think in general is like stopping and celebrating, like taking the time to stop, evaluate for the bad, but for the good as well. And not only like, yeah, we reached that, next step. It's like, calm down, let's like celebrate this, because then our standards are so high every time. It's like we're just evolving, doing better and better and better, and then it's like there's never more better. So I think yeah, partying on good impact, something like that. And then I think a question like for all of you is like, for me it's really hard to, in a big scale perspective, to not know if it really works in general. Like, we know the world is already like fucked up, and we know it's like climate change, everything, it's being faster than we planned, than what we thought, than what we estimated. And are there really like calculations, estimations that if we all really make this effort, we can save something? Or it's just like making the world a least worse than what it will be anyway? Like, you know, is it like a scenario that we are gonna just kill everybody and then there's 1,000 people alive and happy? Or is it really a thing of like, we're gonna be dead all? Like, and is it like in 1,000 years or in 50 years? Like, for me, not having the clear perspective, it's really hard. Yeah.
I think that is that influence of the media as well. This idea of like, well, we're all gonna be dead. Well, we are all gonna be dead in like what, 50, 100 years from now. That is sure. Just us, the people in this room. But the humanity will probably like go on for a little bit longer. But the exact like numbers, etc., like it's been, all these things have, if you dive in and you dive into like the real research, what, like, you know, climate change is going to cause, etc., it is extremely alarming. And yeah, people know exactly which actions need to be taken to like stop, like they become carbon neutral right now, etc. So it is totally possible, but our system, so like this amorphous thing that we're all living in, has no benefit. So it's not one evil mastermind is stopping it. It's just like this entire machine that we're a part of. So it is not easy. But yeah, I think like we had just a conversation about it. You have to go work on the systemic level and really change the systems that drive us in this direction of destruction. And if we don't do that, like, then it's not going to change. And I find it, one point I want to come back to, like the element you meant of like what that you mentioned of like staying motivated because you work with humans and you see this person's going to have food today. I think it's extremely important that we do this. And when I think of my ideal life, I would want to combine this, like seeing the impact of some of the things that I'm doing, combined with like we're all working together at bringing some systemic change on a way deeper level, so that at some point it becomes more advantageous for people to just say like, I'm actually gonna put my money into like saving the earth, and like it becomes beneficial for me because we're all selfish little nasty little humans. So you have to like use that and play with that, and I think it's possible. I don't know if that kind of helps, but you wanted to add something as well here.
Yeah, I mean, just from perhaps a more zoomed out perspective, you mentioned, will we all pass away as a species in 50, 100 years? What's the fundamental difference between that and 50,000 or 100 years? Because everything ends eventually, that we evolve into something else that isn't us anymore, or we've reached our time as a species. I kind of examined my attachment as part of this process of searching for how to deal with this crisis situation within myself, my attachment to the human species and why it affected me so much, my perception of future suffering and of loss. I identified really I was mourning the loss of art and culture and music and science and understanding that would come to be. And I managed to just look at zooming out. We're solving these problems by expanding our sense of love and care and family unit beyond those immediately within our realm to a global society and to encompass all life on Earth. And whether we pass or not, life will continue here. Zooming out even further, I think statistically there must be some life out there somewhere. So if we don't make it to a civilization that fulfills my dreams of, this amazing connectivity and things we can't even think of, something else out there will. And what's if I can zoom out my idea of loving brother and sisterhood and family to encompass all life and complex consciousness, then I can relieve myself of some of the attachment that grieves me to the success of our species. And I don't mean to put that forward as a reason not to do what you can within your own garden as part of a greater whole, but to relieve yourself of the suffering and angst that can really envelop you at those times.
Yeah, that's something that can then you get stuck. If you're just like stuck in the fear mindset, and then nothing happens anymore. So yeah, love it. From the other people here, any thoughts that come up when you hear all of this?
Can speak at the same time.
Yeah, many thoughts. But I just kept thinking about how I stay motivated when the world is on fire. Like, what are my mechanisms? Like what was already brought here, connecting to the other people who are, sharing the same fears and anxieties. It's like this is creating the sense of community. Really works it for me. This here is how I stay motivated. So thank you for being here and motivating me, because it keeps me going. And I think the other thing is just zooming out of myself through dreaming and through expanding my consciousness through psychedelics or meditation, yoga, etc. These kinds of practices actually put me in a state of mind. It's actually the world is on fire. and yeah, you're gonna do everything you can to you little human being, you're gonna do everything you can, but it's you're part of this larger whole, and it's just don't panic. You know, panicking is the is what is just like the demotivating thing. You know. Yeah, exactly. So these things, these activities, these behavior patterns, these are the things that keep me motivated. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the floor and the words around. And yeah, I like your scarf. I found a similar one somewhere, and it's like, oh, I always feel ashamed wearing it, but it's like it's so colorful, so it's beautiful. Thanks, it's wonderful to see it. That scarf actually I put to the United Nations. There was like in August there was a failed summit on nuclear disarmament happening in the US at the United Nations. So the motivation to stay, to keep moving in that direction is like knowing there are people who take care of one problem, and if my heart tells me take care of nuclear weapons and world peace, say like that, then someone else takes care of that the buses are driving. And so I think the motivation is about trusting that whatever I do, my next step is actually the right thing to do, and I do it from a good heart and compassion and connection to the world, and I don't need to take care of all problems at the same time. There are 8 billion other peoples out there in the world, men and women, all connected, so they follow their heart. So it's kind of like trying to expand out of the linear thinking into the spiral thinking, and the linear thinking brought us the world we see now, and it's kind of good and it's kind of fucked up, but it's definitely, there's more to see. For instance, we haven't seen like global unity, and my motivation really works, and this is like, we are on fire, but maybe we need to go through the fire to see the world behind it. And I want to see what kind of innovations, what actually information we can download from the universe once 8 billion people are not fighting against each other anymore on a global scale. Like when we see peace among nations and some sort of unity, we haven't seen that. So it's like, okay, I want to see that before we all fuck it up. But this is like, we only see like a little cake of what is actually possible, and the little cake already is quite good, I have to say. Yeah. But I want to see the dream behind that is like in order to really leave that planet and to become a different life form, I think we need that energy of unity so that we do not threaten or harm other life species in the universe around us. And probably they are already watching us because they realize that. But of course you cannot leave your planet with weapons to threaten others. You need that unity in order to leave the planet. You need to leave behind that idea of threatening each other and killing each other. So that's my dream to work through. And what is the everyday life behind that? It's stay healthy, try to relax, and meditate, have fun. It's like kind of like follow the next intuitive steps, and sometimes they are not intuitive, but maybe not to drink too much alcohol, vegetarian, like kind of like whatever your body kind of tells you is good, and try to keep it. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful response. And I think it made me think of there's some of the elements that you mentioned, and like that also come in the three body problem trilogy. That I don't know if you've read it, but it's a fictional epos of like how humanity could evolve, like once we reach the stars and we go beyond killing off each other. And I also hope that we reach that. And I don't know what's gonna come first, in the sense also of like, it's all these, it's a non-linear way of thinking, and it's something that we are not good at the moment, and it's because our current system is massively training us into like, we all always have to get more, and it's been like mentioned a few times here as well, and also in like the dopamine shots, and this like you want to be doom scrolling, you want to do all these things, and it's the thing that actually makes us really sad and depressed and isolated. And So yeah, kind of for me, it's that a lot of the things that have been said here, and it's the taking care of yourself, and taking care of yourself is being very aware of all of our current system that is pretty flawed, and that will actually tap into all our human, well, I was gonna say our human weaknesses, but just like our humanity, how we are. It is seeing like how can it extract like some sort of value in some sort of way. But it makes us feel, yeah, with all the scrolling or not taking good care of our body, it just like makes us not being able to connect and go beyond also things like war and so on. We're just a little bit deviated from a path that makes sense. So yeah, interesting thoughts. We have some new people joining us. So if you have any thoughts on this, we've been talking about in general, like how do you stay motivated in and how do we keep on building? And I use that word on purpose, like not like how do you keep on fighting the system? No, how do we keep on building alternative ways of actually moving in the right direction? So how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you stay positive? I don't know if you have if anyone who joined, if you have any thoughts that come up with what you've already heard.
I have thoughts, but I want to listen.
Whatever you wish.
Yeah, I'm hearing like, okay, so how to stay motivated when all this stuff is going on, right? Which can be really upsetting. Yeah, I think for me, like for instance, you talk about social media. I can't think of his name right now, but there's someone who's like an ex-Google engineer. He put out The Social Dilemma recently. If you've seen that documentary. Tristan Harris, yeah. So I discovered him about 10 years ago. And I really liked the way he was kind of framing, like, make sure you take control of your technology so it's not controlling you. And I kind of applied that as well to social media. So I went hardcore through, let's take Instagram, for example, and took a hard look at who I'm following and cleaned that up entirely to ensure that whatever I'm following is like quality information that's going to motivate and inspire me and is going to educate me on work that's being done around the world to address some of these issues. So like my feed is full of like conservation work and like naturalists and like people doing really, really amazing projects. Also like photographers who are using photography to tell important stories about what's going on in the Arctic or like different places. And yeah, I don't follow like models, celebrities, or like I used to follow travel photography. I killed all of that because it's just like, the whole influencer thing doesn't, that's like a contentious thing as well. So yeah, and so when I open my feed, I actually get like a lot of good input, and I did it that way because like I don't want to follow drama or have that. It's going to come your way anyway in your normal life. So like, why would you have your social media feed giving you more of that? So I think that's really important too, is like curating the input that's coming your way as much as you possibly can. I also want to get, and then I'm like, I try to curate it for new input all the time. But again, something it could be like, it doesn't all have to be like positive. I also follow a lot of like animal welfare stuff, and it's like, it is depressing, but I follow really well done accounts because I want to be reminded I've gone more in the direction of eating vegan. So I feel like I'm making a positive impact for the planet in my own way. And it's a nice little reminder for me all the time, like why I'm doing it. And it actually motivates me to continue that. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but I think these little things help me a lot. And then also making sure I'm working with people who aren't just positive all the time, but at least are like kind individuals and who also care a lot, and who can like prop you up when you're not feeling great and vice versa. Yeah. So yeah, I think just surrounding yourself with motivating people and like motivating content is at least a good step. Yep. Does anybody else want to? I think you make me think of something like you're making all these changes and doing all these things in your life, and I think for me, building a life worth fighting for. I guess I'm sort of combining two of the things that you said, and in my mind, when you build something that is truly
different. And, you know, we were just doing dance. We were doing a dance workshop. And one of the beautiful things about dance is when you see other people doing it, you want to do it too. You're like, oh, okay, footwork. You know, you want to get in the footwork. And I think like, just like bringing that to other parts of my life, like, you know, when you see my network or the network I'm in of relationships and how we support each other and how we minimize each other's need to actually interface with the capitalist economy, and how we've built our survival out of that system. And like, people, you don't work at night? No. Like, how do you do that? People, I don't know. We just network, girl, get you one, you know, like, I think like that is what keeps me so sane. And when I don't have that, the difference is also so felt. And I think the evidence for that is immigrant communities, at least in the United States, have built systems, even if they use capital, they don't actually operate under the cultural tenets of capitalism. The systems that I grew up in or grew up around and are similar in a lot of different immigrant communities in the United States is like they culturally operate or use capital in alignment with their own cultural values. It's very interesting to like use money as a tool to make your culture happen rather than to make money or to increase the amount of money you have. And to see people use that, you know, of like, okay, we need to have the Council of Elders. Okay, we need to have Igbo school. Okay, you know, like we need to have all of these institutions in place, even though we're here. And for that to be the priority is just very interesting. It's just, and nobody's coming to fund this. We're not reaching out to foundations. Nobody's writing grants. This is all everybody pulling their resources, their skills and doing things. And so I think just being a part of those networks and communities and rooted in that is like, it's like having something worth fighting for, right? I don't know.
I wanted to add also, like, for me, the psychological, how can I explain this? Like, going against our previous generation is something not very positive, but that I negatively motivates me a lot. Because it's like, I don't know, I feel like going against my parents and against, you know, what the elder think it's the right way to do. It's also very exciting in terms of innovation. It's like, okay, we are so privileged. We arrived to this world where everything is already set. Everything is here. Just come take your food. But then like looking at that privilege, and I'm talking from my own privilege, looking at it and being able to see, okay, wait, not everyone is there. And how can we innovate and look at the whole system to creatively find other solutions so everyone is better. I don't know. I think just the creative part of it, of imagining different futures, is per se, just as like the process is interesting. It's beautiful. Not only for the impact it has in the end. Yeah, it's complementary, right, with celebrating and measuring impact and so on. But I think, the process is also very beautiful for me. And especially because you are with people. Like, yeah.
I want to maybe add one to that. Like, in some way, my brain is a combination of what both of you said, and a topic that has come up with many people in the case is the sense of community. And it came up in other conversations over the past 2 days as well, is which I would simply express as rebuilding trust. And the entire COVID period has, on that level, I think anyone I've asked, I've noticed they've suffered off of this as well, of like, it created a literal distance, even more than we're already in, between people. And so, I am by nature, I am a hugger. I want to like always like just like physically grab people and just like sense them. And I want it more than ever. I was like, I'm onto something here. And I think we all need this, because even I have it so often with the distance between people because of the remote work that many of us do, is that you start telling stories in your head about other people and making assumptions and why they're doing something or not doing something. And yes, in theory, I believe that we're all innately good, that we mean well. I really truly believe this. I believe most of the things that go wrong in the world are caused by actually coming from good things. People want to take care of their loved ones, and there's nothing wrong with that. But so the people who are seeing like, yeah, all of that is great, but the world is not really moving in the right direction, so I want to do something, and they want to like get motivated. It's like, invest enough in communicating with the other people. And how can you do that? How can you communicate and connect really well with them? Start with, also mentioned already before, like meditation, breathwork, therapy. Just like connect really well with yourself, that you know your own biases and prejudices and so on, so that it's easier to actually look someone in the eyes and be like, tell them like, hey, I have this idea. It's probably totally wrong, but I'm thinking this thing about you, and I'm going to just say it. And then that other person can tell you, well, this is how I see the world. And then by just connecting, by communicating, by daring to be vulnerable, you really deeply connect. And then it's way easier to make a change. Because yeah, even during this event and at any event or anything that you actually build together, I see so much time lost on miscommunication, on people just like really misunderstanding each other. And just like the example of the beautiful community that you mentioned, like, yeah, it is great that currently you have this community that comes together, and it is just they're bringing their own resources. It could take, I hope this will not happen, but like with this and so many examples, people start something and then someone does something that is misinterpreted by someone, and it all just crumbles apart, and it's horrible. And so, yeah, communication it's one of my personal pet things in that sense, but wanted to still add that. I think we're almost at time, but do you want to add something because you joined us late?
Sure. I don't. What are we talking about? No, just kidding. Yeah. I think for me personally, just taking a step back and realizing it's not about me, and it's liberating. It's like, oh, I can be a footnote, and all this is going to burn up and the sun will explode. And even if we escape this planet, this just, so, and the only thing, this more just like comes from my ayahuasca musings, but I think like the only real thing in life is love. I feel like I just have this gut intuition that that's going to be the unit of account after death. It's not about the money or even the length of your life. It's really just like, did you fully embrace your dharma, and did you love fully when the opportunity came? And could you, put love in action? And that includes not just like the hippy dippy shit, but also like, do you love your business partners enough to call it their bullshit? Do you love yourself enough to step up and own the responsibilities that you have? So how to put that on chain? No idea.
Or it maybe doesn't need to be on chain.
Yeah. Totally. It just like, it's something that humans do together, and like, because they're just mindful of time. I think actually that's a really beautiful way to close out. And on that, like it's not just our little self that counts. I would propose something that just I made up now, but like, first of all, thank you everyone for joining this fantastically beautiful, open, vulnerable discussion. I want to give a group hug to anyone. I want to join. I want to be part of a group hug for whoever wants to join as an end of this day and of all of this. So thank you.
Oh,